using the power of books to build a brand on today's episode. Today's episode is brought to you by FreshBooks. Accounting and bookkeeping mistakes destroy thousands of small businesses every single day. Bookkeeping doesn't have to be hard. Turn to the #1 invoicing software for small businesses. Start for free today at servenomaster.com/FreshBooks.
Are you tired of dealing with your boss? Do you feel underpaid and underappreciated? If you want to make it online, fire your boss and start living your retirement dreams now, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to Serve No Master Podcast, where you'll learn how to open new revenue streams and make money while you sleep. Presented live from a tropical island in the South Pacific by best-selling author Jonathan Green. Now, here's your host.
As a child, I was always fascinated with authors, the way someone could write a story so powerful that I could see it in my mind. All of my favorite authors, I was so fascinated with their ability to create these stories, and I wondered, how could someone get a message out into the world that other people could understand, desire, experience, and even want to pay for? It was amazing to me. When I wrote my first book, I wrote a little digital pamphlet that I sold from a website, one of my old blogs. It was only 20 or 30 pages. My dream was to sell 10 copies. I just wanted to see if 10 people would be interested enough in what I had to say to actually pay for it. 10 copies, how amazing. And then my goal, when I sold 10, was to sell 100 and then 1,000. As someone who's now sold hundreds of thousands of books, who's really experienced a bit of success, and I've written books that people sell for $57, $97. It's amazing to think that my words are that valuable. And it's exciting. When people find out what I do, they treat me differently based on my description. If someone meets me and I tell them I'm an internet marketer, there's a little bit of interest. If someone meets me and I tell them that I'm a writer, they're more interested. Wow, you're a writer, what do you do? If I tell them I'm an author, then they're very fascinated. And if I say I'm a best-selling author, wow, it's like being a movie star. People react to me like I'm a celebrity. They've never read one of my books, they've never even heard of me, but they still react differently. Being a best-selling author says a lot about you. It says that I've written a book and someone else, a third party, has verified the quality of my work. The best-selling part is external. It's an external judgment from someone else and adds a lot of validity. People respond to bestsellers in a very powerful and dynamic way. They respect you more. They think you're smarter. They think you're a little bit better. The same way we think about movie stars, we think about authors and people who write books and people have the ability to create words. Many people, most people, have a celebrity fantasy. People either want to be a politician who's famous, a musician who's famous, an actor who's famous, or a writer. We want to be famous for our creativity and our culture. It's very revered. We all have within us a little bit of desire. And as we get older, some of those fade away. But you can become a successful author when you're 30, 40, 50, 60. Age doesn't matter. So the desire is always within people. It doesn't disappear when they're too old to be in a pop band or too old to be in the movies. You can still have that desire. People will respond to you in a new and dynamic way. Having a book as the centerpiece of your band, having a book as the centerpiece of your message, and a best-selling book at that, a book that's successful, that people read and they enjoy, it's very powerful. And it begins to tell them your story. It demonstrates some very crucial qualities about you. The first is that you have the ability to start and finish a project. 99.999% of people who start a book never finish it. The same for people that write scripts. I've mentioned this in previous podcasts. It's fascinating to me when someone tells me they've written a script, but it's not finished. If you go to a restaurant and order a meal, they don't say, oh, I've cooked your dinner, but it's only half done. We don't consider most projects finished until they're completed. We don't get the credibility for it until it's done. For me, if someone says they've sold a script, they've written a script, I assume they've sold it. I assume that it's finished, that it's complete, that it's a finalized story. But many people, they want to take a little bit of the glory they haven't earned yet. And it's the same for writers. Everyone I meet is a writer. I haven't met someone in a very long time who doesn't tell me that they're a writer. Yet I almost never meet people who've finished a book, and of those who finished it, have released it into the wild is even less. Many people finish a book, then put it in a drawer. There's people who die and they find 13, 14 novels hidden in a drawer somewhere. I believe Emily Dickinson, thousands of poems, many, many poems. And I'll look up the exact number and put it in the show notes, but many, many poems of hers weren't found until after her death. Sometimes we don't become a celebrity until after we're gone because of the fear of releasing it into the wild. When you have a book that's out there that's been successful, you've demonstrated that you can complete a project. You've demonstrated that you complete it to a level of professionalism, that you have the confidence to put into the wild, that people will pay to hear what you have to say. Every time someone buys a copy of my book, it feels very good. It makes me feel validated. I've written dozens of bestsellers, more than 30, it might even be more than 40 now. I don't constantly track everything and all the different times they get bestsellers. I'm not tracking every single day because once you hit it 10 times, it becomes just a thing. But when someone buys my new book, my Serve No Master book, because it's my personal story, my personal journey, it means a lot to me. My first books, my first dating novels that were really successful, my Girl Gets Ring, which helped women to succeed in relationships, go from single to engaged and cover that really important part of the relationship journey. I told a lot of personal stories in that book. It did have a lot of me in it, but Serve No Master is 100% my voice, 100% my journey. It's really something I birthed from within my soul. To get validation is very meaningful to me. When other people see that about my brand, when they see that you have a book that you've written, that you built your business around, that represents your voice, that says something about you, whether you've written a whole book or just chapter and part of a book to get started. When you have that validation, they see that you're someone who has wisdom, has a story to tell, has a story that other people will pay to hear. It changes how people respond to you. There are so many good qualities from someone who's able to complete this type of project, and the value is then passed on to you. You can add links and logos to your social media profile, to your resume, to all these other parts of your life to add it in. Even as you're building other parts of your business, once you've become a best-selling author, you're in some rarefied air. You're a little bit special. And as your success grows, your specialness grows. There are people around me in my orbit right now who I'm in that pre-project dance, that little communication phase where you wait for the other person to say the number first. One of the people I'm in that dance with is constantly looking at my book on Amazon. And every time he sees it there, he thinks he has to make a bigger offer to me. It affects how he perceives me. My value is very high from something that I'm an expert at. People perceive something they don't understand as amazing. Just like there are scientists who understand how to put a rocket on the moon. For them, it's easy. It's like sneezing. To me, it's unbelievably amazing. Oftentimes, the things we're experts at, other people find amazing, and that's what's really wonderful. So you've expressed yourself into the world. You've been successful. When you build a brand around that, when you build a brand around your best-selling novel, your first best-selling book, you can then launch into several different amazing directions. You can create a series of books that follow on to it. When you have one book on Amazon or in Barnes & Noble's in the bookstore, every reader has to be a brand new reader. You're constantly recruiting new readers to generate revenue. When you have two books, you only have to keep the reader. It's not nearly as hard to get someone to read book 2 in a series as it is to get them to read book 1. This is why most science fiction writers do a series of 10, 18, 12, 30 books before they start a second series. It's hard to get people to jump from one series into another. It's very easy to get them to read a continuation of the series. The easier we make it for your audience to follow you, the better. Even if you're writing nonfiction, you can create a series of 10, 20, 30 books that are all on similar subjects, and people will sometimes just click the button to say, buy all. I know I'm going to like them. I'll just buy all. It's very wonderful. This is one of the ways you can use your initial strong brand to build something out and to move in another direction. You can also make it the centerpiece of your website, your PR campaign, use it in other media elements. When you have a best-selling book, when you have a book on Amazon, it's 10 times easier to get on the radio. It's 10 times easier to get on local television. It's 10 times easier to get guest posting spots on other blogs. You now have a bit of authority. Instead of being a random voice in the wild that sends an email into a website saying, hey, I'd like to write a guest post for you. You now have a little something, a little verification for your authenticity. They can look at something you've written that's out there in the world that people are paying for and use it to assess you. It's a very powerful tool to grow your business in ways other than just the internet. If you're a local business guy, maybe you're just a local small business owner, you're a painter, you write a book about painting, you write a book about the art of being a house painter, you write a book about different techniques for people who want to paint the house themselves. When you are a good painter, amazing house painter, and a best-selling author about house painting, You can raise your prices 10, 20, 30% very quickly. You could raise your rate. You also can use that to get appearances on television. Local media will be fascinated by the hometown hero house painter who became a best-selling author. All of this free press, this free promotion, these free commercials for your house painting business. Fill up your schedule, raise your rate, grow your business. It's amazing how businesses that have nothing to do with writing can thrive from the power of having a book as part of your brand. Some of the people I've worked with, high-level executives out of work, when they have a book out there that says they're a best-selling author, their phone starts to ring. They start to get those messages, those amazing interviews, and it's wonderful to help that happen. It's wonderful to see the power of that. Wherever you want to go in life, it's an asset. It's an accreditation. After we graduate college, we very rarely get new additions to our resumes. We add different jobs we've worked at, different experience, but we don't have new awards. Now you can have a little feather to add to your hat. You can use being a best-selling author to create powerful connections. As you connect with and meet other authors, as you communicate with other people that are successful in business. There are people that I do business with in different niches, different sectors that I work on, who are 10 or 100 times more successful than me in that niche. When they see I'm a best-selling author in that subject, they see me as an equal. They don't do 99-1% split. They do 50-50 with me on the next project. You can add authority and massively increase your perceived value, what people pay you. You've demonstrated something really special about you. Books build a brand that people understand, that people can connect with, that people admire and feel real with. And you can use a book to grow any type of business you're working on. It's very powerful. So much of my business is built around writing, and that's why I have a passion for it. Yes, I do a lot of video work. I make a lot of video courses. People don't see me in the same way. Video is cool, but unless you're in a movie or unless you're in an infomercial, a book is more powerful. A book on Amazon, a book released into the wild, a book that has public credibility, that the world at large controls your sales and controls your reviews, that's something special. Whatever direction you want to take your business, you can open new doors with a powerful book. A lot of what I teach about, a lot of what I believe in, is finding ways to make money before you buy anything from me. I teach that in my book, which is why there's several ways to make back the cost of the book before you do anything else. I want you to recoup every investment you make from me. I don't want you to buy a course from me unless you're going to make the money back. I never tell people to borrow money or use a credit card. I never want anyone to do that. I'm a big believer in building your business and making revenue first. And a couple of the streams I've talked about in previous episodes, one of the paths I love talking about is getting work as a writer, getting work writing blog posts, writing articles, writing books for other people. When you write that first book for yourself, release it into the wild, and it's successful, that becomes your resume. I've had many writers approach me looking for work. When I post an ad for work, I always have more writing work than I can personally handle. I'm always behind because I have so much work coming in and so many projects I'm excited by. I could honestly hire 10 full-time writers right now to work with me. I have that much work coming in, and I'm so busy. But I just love using my own voice. I love having a book sound like me, so it's hard for me to push away all those projects. When I'm looking for an author, they often send me a book that they've written and it's out on Amazon, and they send me a link to their Amazon book, and it's got 2 reviews and they're both 1-star reviews. You have a really bad resume when you do that, which is why you want to follow everything I've shared with you so far. You want to publish your book in the right way. You want to make sure the editing is perfect. That's why I say over and over again, run everything through Grammarly. All of the books I released before I started using Grammarly, I'm going to go back through them and tighten them up again to make them even better. It's a very powerful tool that will double or triple the quality of your writing and help to avoid some of those brutal bad grammar, bad spelling reviews. Couldn't afford an editor, therefore they're terrible. Affording an editor is a big challenge, and most of us can't do it. Spending $5,000 on an editor, $3,000 on an editor for a book where you might not make that back for 6 or 12 months, that's brutal. That's too much risk. The editor costs more than every other part of the process. This is a way to bypass that. When you go out looking for ghostwriting work and you have a book that's been done the right way, written, following the ways I've shared with you, that's already been a bestseller, that has some really positive reviews, have had some good response, made you a little bit of money, you can change your rate. Instead of getting paid 4 cents a word, now you get paid 6, 7, 8, 10. You could double or triple your income as a writer. Recently, I talked about how to get paid before you do any work. That was the last episode. So if you go back 1 episode, I talk about becoming a local consultant where people give you money before you've even learned how to do what you're selling them. This is how I started my first business. I sold SEO services. I used the first paycheck to learn how to do it. And I delivered amazing results for that client. I worked so hard because I was so grateful. The day she handed me the check, I had no idea what I was going to do. I just knew that I could learn it. I believed in myself enough, and I was willing to do whatever it took to make it happen. When you add being a best-selling author into the mix, when you add even just being an author on a book that has a little bit of credibility, you can put a book on Amazon explaining everything you know about a subject. It doesn't even have to be that successful. As long as the book is well written and the content is strong, you can put the book up for 99 cents and direct people to it. You can just tell them, check out my book. You can really see what I'm all about. They read it, get a real understanding for you, realize that you understand your field, and then they hire you. A 99-cent book can get you a $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 a month client. Not only am I a dentist, I wrote the book about being a dentist. Not only am I a local consultant, but I wrote the book about building a local consulting business. I'm the expert that other people in my field come to learn how to do it. When I was in college, there was this DJ, and he was famous in a very strange way. He was one of those DJs who made records that every other DJ would buy and use. So he was famous to other DJs, but not famous as much to the world out loud, to the world at large. I went to see this DJ in New York, and it was one of those amazing adventures of my life. And I'm not going to tell you the entire story now. It's such a crazy night. I had no idea that he was a DJ at a gay club. So that was a big surprise. My first time in New York by myself, find this random club. I just wanted to see this DJ's DJ. Crazy night. One of the most wonderful and adventurous nights of my life, but full of surprises. Full of amazing, crazy surprises. But he is so respected because he's the DJ's DJ. That's what many of my friends call this amazing DJ. Very fascinating. When people see you as the dentist other people go to for wisdom, when people see you as the local consultant whose book other people read, you have a level of authority that's above and beyond anything else. Imagine the actor who wrote the book other actors read to learn how to become actors. Of course everyone's going to respect you. You have this level of authority. It changes everything. It adds this cachet to your personality and creates this level of respect that will help you grow your business in any direction. I'm a big believer in expressing your voice. You don't have to sit down at a keyboard and type with your hands to write a book. I have entire lessons, blog posts, and previous podcasts where I explain and teach you exactly how you can simply record yourself talking and convert that into an amazing book. You can just chat for 2 hours and you have enough words for a book. It's that simple, it's that easy, it's that powerful. This is the technique, this is the tool you want to use as the foundation of your business. Many people, especially marketers and people in the online marketing industry, they build an entire empire, and then after they've been successful 6-7 years later, they write their book to be the cherry on top, and it's a vanity piece. Why wait until the end of your journey when it has the least value? Using it at the beginning, making it a tool to begin your journey is very, very powerful. It makes life so much easier to start the journey on your own. When I was facing my first book for Amazon, when I had my first book I wanted to release on Amazon, it took me 2 years to get the confidence to release it. If I could get those 2 years back, I would do anything. When I think about where my life would be right now, if I hadn't wasted those 2 years, I just had this book sitting on my hard drive doing nothing. I left money on the table simply because I got distracted, got busy, got a little bit nervous. Whatever excuse I want to make, I made a foolish decision. There's no reason to wait. The sooner you put your book up, the sooner it starts making money, the sooner you get a little bit more freedom, the sooner you can use it as an asset to grow your business. When you take your book and use my training, use my techniques to go to the next level and make it an actual bestseller, make it a really successful project, that's when amazing things can start to happen. That's when you can really explode your business. Just having a book out there that's successful, that really has your message, is very strong. When it's also a bestseller, you turbocharge every area of your life. You go from, I wrote a book, but I didn't finish it. I wrote a book and finished it. I'm a writer. I'm an author. I'm a best-selling author. That's the highest level in the hierarchy. People often compare me to other authors who've written movies or 20 books and sold hundreds of millions of books, simply because they see best-selling author as the same category. I haven't sold anywhere near the same level of books as those people, but I am in the top 1% of writers. Very few writers sell more than 1,000 copies of a book. Very few break 10,000, and almost none break 100,000. I haven't hit 1 million in books, but I've sold more books than almost every other author out there. It adds an amazing amount of credibility to me, and it's probably why you're listening to me right now. I don't just talk about writing, selling, releasing books. It's what I do. It's what feeds my family, feeds my kids. My entire business is built around my book. It's the centerpiece of my business. This podcast is not the centerpiece of my business. This podcast is a way for me to engage you and connect with you as much as possible and to keep that connection after you've read the book, after you've seen some other parts of me so that you can feel more interactive. Books often feel like one-way communication, but the centerpiece of my business is not this podcast. One day it may shift to that as this podcast becomes more and more popular, but most of my audience finds me on Amazon and then ends up on this podcast as a follow-on. This is where we can keep communicating and I can help build on some of those ideas. You may find one part of the book is your favorite part and then you grab the podcast episodes that follow that part of the story. You may only be interested in the travel tips and the way I travel the world and how I afford and how I designed living on a tropical island. So perhaps your favorite episode is simply my episodes about medical abroad, about finding ways to travel, about dealing with taxes and visas and government stuff when you're traveling around the world. Maybe those are the most valuable part to you. That's okay. The centerpiece of my business is my book, and adding it to your business early, whatever sector you're in, will open up amazing doors for you, make it easier to grow your business, help you get better job interviews, help you get that raise, help you become more interesting at every party you go to. When you go to networking events, everyone wants to talk to you. Everyone is interested in you. People who make 10, 20, 50 times more money than you, when they hear you're a best-selling author, they want to know you have a piece of knowledge they want. You become valuable. You get offered amazing opportunities. You can ask for raises, ask for promotions, leverage into better jobs, get better clients, raise your rates, grow your business, grow your income. That's the amazing power of using a book to build your brand.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Serve No Master. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss another episode. And we'll be back next Tuesday with more tips and tactics on how to escape that rat race. Head over to servenomaster.com/podcasts now for your chance to win a free copy of Jonathan's bestseller, Serve No Master. All you have to do is leave a 5-star review of this podcast. See you Tuesday.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Serve No Master podcast. Join me on my Facebook page at facebook.com/serve no master.